Tonight, we travel north of Greece to the rugged hills and fertile plains of Macedonia. From this land rose a young king who would cross mountains and deserts, rivers and seas, to build one of the greatest empires the world had ever seen. His name was Alexander the Great, so let your mind drift back to the days of horsemen and armies, shining armor and far-off cities. Close your eyes and walk the path of a man whose dream was nothing less than the world itself. Macedonia, before Alexander, long before Alexander's birth, Macedonia was a kingdom at the edge of Greece. It was a land of strong warriors, skilled horsemen, and proud kings. The Greeks often looked down on them as outsiders, but Macedonia was rising. Under King Philip II, Macedonia gained strength. Philip reformed the army, introducing the long spear, or sarissa, and training soldiers to fight in tight phalanx formations. By the time Philip was done, most of Greece had been brought under Macedonian rule. But in 336 BCE, Philip was assassinated. His young son, just 20 years old, became king. His name was Alexander, the young king. Alexander was not an ordinary youth. He had been taught by Aristotle, the great philosopher, who filled his mind with Greek literature, science, and ideas of glory. From his father, he learned strategy and warfare. From his mother, Olympias, he inherited fiery ambition and a belief in destiny. When he became king, many thought Macedonia would fall apart. Instead, Alexander moved swiftly. He crushed revolts in Greece and burned Thebes as a warning, yet spared the house of the poet Pindar, honoring learning even in conquest. The dream of conquest, with Greece under his command, Alexander looked east. His goal was the mighty Persian Empire, stretching from Asia Minor to Egypt and beyond. It was the largest empire in the world, ruled by King Darius III. Many thought Alexander's ambition impossible. Yet in 334 BCE, he crossed into Asia with an army of only 40,000 men, beginning a journey that would change history. The first victories at the Battle of the Granicus, Alexander led a bold charge across a river against Persian satraps. Victory was his. He freed the Greek cities of Asia Minor, earning their loyalty. Moving south, he faced Darius himself at the Battle of Issus. Outnumbered, Alexander struck directly at the Persian king. Darius fled the battlefield, leaving behind his family. Alexander treated them with honor, showing himself not just as a conqueror, but as a ruler who inspired loyalty. Egypt and the God King. In 332 BCE, Alexander marched into Egypt. The Egyptians, weary of Persian rule, welcomed him as a liberator. At the Nile Delta, he founded a city, Alexandria, which would grow into one of the greatest centers of learning in the world. In the desert of Siwa, he visited the oracle of Ammon. There, he was declared the son of Zeus, a god among men. Whether or not Alexander believed it, the legend of his divine destiny spread far and wide. The fall of Persia, with Egypt secure, Alexander returned east to face Darius again. At the Battle of Gaugamela, the decisive clash came. Vast Persian forces stretched across the plain, but Alexander's strategy and the discipline of his troops broke them apart. Once again, Darius fled, and soon after, he was killed by his own men. Alexander marched into the Persian capitals of Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis, taking unimaginable treasures. At Persepolis, the great palace of Xerxes was burned, a symbolic end to Persian power. The march east with Persia fallen, Alexander's dream grew larger. He pressed deeper into Asia, seeking to reach the edges of the known world. In Central Asia, he fought fierce campaigns against rebels and nomadic horsemen. In the city of Bactra, he married Roxana, a princess, binding himself to the local people. Then he marched into India, crossing rivers swollen by monsoon rains. At the Battle of the Hydaspes, he faced King Porus, who brought war elephants into the field. The fighting was fierce, but Alexander triumphed and, in respect, allowed Porus to remain as king. The edge of the world beyond the Hydaspes, Alexander wished to march farther east, but his weary soldiers, far from home, refused. After years of war, they longed for Greece and Macedonia. Reluctantly, Alexander turned back, journeying through deserts and hardships on the return. His army, though battered, remained loyal, bound by the glory of what they had achieved. The final days, by 323 BCE, Alexander had returned to Babylon, planning new campaigns perhaps against Arabia. But then, suddenly, he fell ill. At just 32 years old, the conqueror of the world died, leaving no clear heir. His body was placed in a golden sarcophagus, and his generals wept. The legacy of Alexander: after his death, his vast empire was divided among his generals, known as the Diadochi. Though the empire did not last, Alexander's influence endured. Greek language and culture spread across the Near East in what became the Hellenistic Age. Cities like Alexandria became centers of learning, art, and trade. His vision of blending East and West lived on in the cultures that followed. Even today, Alexander is remembered not only as a conqueror, but as a symbol of ambition, courage, and the dream of uniting the world. And so, as the torches burn low in the halls of Babylon, and the desert winds carry whispers of a fallen king, we leave behind the story of Alexander the Great, a young man who crossed continents, who stood against empires, and who carved his name into the stones of history. Close your eyes and imagine the sound of marching armies, the glow of ancient cities, and the quiet footsteps of a man whose dream stretched as far as the stars. The empire is gone, but his legend remains. Good night.